Hello, folks. How are you? Welcome to this live Saturday afternoon show. Can we call this a show? I suppose it is a show. And welcome if you're watching back later on as well. I wonder how your Saturday is going. I wonder if you're taking care of yourself sufficiently, as you may well be taking care of several others at this time. And I'm wondering if you're managing to juggle all the different responsibilities that you have, whether it's work or childcare or looking after elderly relatives or whatever you've got going on. Have you managed to set some kind of boundaries around your weekend if you're not working? And even if you are working, are you able to kind of separate what you normally do on a weekday to a weekend? So I've had quite a nice day so far. I went for a long hike in nature. It was very lovely. And I passed a big rock at a beauty spot near where I live, which has clearly tumbled down from the top of the hillside at some point, where there is quite a famous rock formation called Indian's Head. And I think the last time I was there was when I was there with my dad, who died about 6 years ago. I think my children may have been there as well, I can't remember. But I remember my dad clambering up this rock with youth-like enthusiasm, like a mountain goat he was. So it brought back some warm memories for me. And it made me think about how connected we all are in this current virus crisis that's going on, and how kind everyone is being to each other, how compassionate everyone, how connected so many people are feeling to each other, their community, their family, their friends. And I really hope this continues beyond the end of the virus, because isn't this really our natural way of being? To actually care for each other and to say hello to each other as we pass them on our walks, on our daily exercise. It's a great leveler, I think, this virus. We're all in it together. None of us are immune, possibly apart from the people who've had the virus. But you know what I mean. And yeah, wouldn't it be lovely if we could stay connected in this way for all eternity, not just however long we are in lockdown for. So we have 148 bees in the hive now. Who's going to be 150? Maybe I should offer a small prize to whoever is the 150th. I can offer them a hug, a large hug, but they'd have to cash it in once I'm allowed to touch people again. So just before we invite into the studio today's special guest, our super sub, Rachel Warren, who's going to talk about spiritual and energy healing. She's a reflexologist and massage therapist, and has lots of useful stuff to offer for you, as well as details around her mental health experiences, which hopefully you will find useful. Oh, look, I've got some comments. Hello, Yvonne. Managing to find out how to get it working. Well done. You were that mad psychic. Oh, it was you, Yvonne. I didn't sit up with all that gear on. You said hello to me. I just thought a yellow blur. I didn't have my glasses on. So hello, Yvonne, and apologies for only smiling at you when you whizzed past this morning. So yes, what I need to tell you, we've got 148 bees in the hive. If we all invite 5 to 10 people, Facebook friends, buddies, whoever they are, people that we think might benefit from what goes on in the hive, then we would have very quickly 1,000-strong community here. How wonderful would that be? So that's my challenge to you guys. Invite 5 to 10 friends along. Only people that you think can get some benefit from being here. Maybe to qualify for that, they just need to be alive and human. But hey, maybe that's me being big-headed. Anyway, hello, Hayley. You made it. And you're not in the bath. Brilliant. And you're not making cheese either. Fantastic. Great stuff. So we're going to welcome into the studio. I always laugh when I say studio because I feel like some kind of broadcasting person. And my head keeps getting bigger and then making it smaller again. So Rachel Warren, super sub. I'm going to invite her in. Here we go. Hello, Rachel.
Hello. Every time you call me super sub, I think of Subway. So I keep thinking, what's my filling?
Well, you're going to be the vegan one. Vegan, definitely.
Yes, definitely vegan.
Mm,
Yeah.
I'm a big fan, actually, of the vegan Subway. I think they're a bit dry, personally?
Oh, I think they're probably, yeah, I think I've tried it once and wasn't impressed.
Yes. So, question number one, do you know who Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is?
No, I do not. Should I?
Okay. Well, I don't like the word should, but if you're a football fan, you'll probably know who he is.
Oh, well.
He was famous for being a super sub. He would come off the bench
Oh,
and score a winner. He's now the manager of Manchester United.
well,
But
maybe that's my next job then.
maybe. But the pertinent thing is that you are a super sub. You come in at late notice because our scheduled guest could no longer make it. So thank you very much for.
That's all right. I have the ultimate excuse.
Yes, no, there's no excuses required. We can just have a lovely chat and it will be helpful to people, I'm sure. So, would you like to kind of introduce yourself, say who you are and what you do?
I will. So, hi everybody, I'm Rachel and I am a reflexologist and massage therapist. I've been doing that for nearly 20 years now. I know I don't look old enough. And in my former life, I was a primary school teacher. So I have 2 daughters and a mad dog who has just been removed because she was barking. So that's me in a nutshell.
Lovely. And what is your dog called, Rachel?
My dog is called Poppy and she's a rescue. We only have rescues in this house and she's a bit challenged. So, yeah, she's been taken away now. I think she heard your voice and decided that you were worth barking at.
There's a man in the house.
Yeah, there's a man in the house. What's he doing? Yeah.
Marvellous. Aren't pets wonderful?
They are.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, this time, this crisis that we're going through, I think pets are affording a lot of comfort to people, especially those who don't have any humans around them. So,
absolutely. Yeah, they're wonderful. Even Poppy, who really does sleep a lot. She,
cats and dogs have got it sussed. They sleep,
have.
What, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day, even more? So.
Absolutely. She probably does more than that, actually. I think it's pretty much all she does, but she's very snuggly, so it's good.
Oh, Poppy. Okay,
yeah.
So you are, massage and reflexology, and you're training to be a spiritual and energy healer as well.
I am, yeah. So that's a 2-year course. I started that in September. So, yeah, I'm partway through, and obviously everything's been suspended at the moment, all of life. But I have been doing some distant healings for friends, and I really love the course. So that's a really big plus for me. It's something I've wanted to do for a very long time, and I just found the right course for me and decided to go for it. So that's what I'm doing. That's down in Malvern, so it's quite a long way away. And we're going to be doing some Zoom meetings and things like that. But there's a lot I can do at home to kind of add to that experience, and that's what I've been doing. So, yeah, big passion of mine.
Yeah, lovely. I used to live in Malvern, so I think you know.
Oh, you're so fortunate. It's beautiful.
Yes, it is. Yes. Yeah, lovely place. Lots of hills.
Lots of hills and lots of very nice vegan shops.
Yes, it's very forward thinking, I would say, in that regard. It's been a very kind of holistic place for quite a while, I think, quite forward thinking.
Has a really nice energy about it.
Yeah. Maybe I'll go back and live there again one day. Yeah. So, tell me, what is spiritual and energy healing? Pretend I know nothing. And tell us all, what is spiritual energy healing?
Well, I suppose it all comes from a personal perspective. And there may be people who don't agree with what I'm about to say. So I'm saying this from a completely humble place of my understanding. And basically, spiritual healing is based on the idea that everything is energy, that the universe is energy. I would say that energy is basically love, and that we can tap into that, and that we can use that energy to help change somebody's physical, emotional, spiritual health. And that by making ourselves more receptive to that energy, we can multiply that effect. We have a very strong belief in the college that you can't go against somebody else's will, that actually you don't have that power. So it's all done very much with permission. I would never send spiritual healing to somebody who hadn't expressly given me permission, because you wouldn't just walk into somebody's house, for example, without knocking on the door. So there are particular protocols that we follow as well. But what we do is we tap into that healing love, and we bring that through our heart centers and through our hands, and then into the energy field of the person who's receiving, whether they're there or whether they are somewhere else. And that's basically what we do. And I don't know how much people understand about chakras. So those are kind of spinning wheels of energy that certain people believe we have as part of our spiritual makeup, and that can be helped by certain healing protocols. Some people use colours, some people use sound, like you've had a lot of sound healing on here already, which is phenomenal and very powerful. And some people channel energy like I do to kind of help those chakras balance up and to give people more holistic health, because we get knocked off balance every day by all sorts of factors, some that we can see and some that we can't see, like environmental things. And so really spiritual healing is a way of bringing people back to balance, a bit like my massage and reflexology.
Yeah, lovely. So yeah, I don't have a huge understanding of chakras, but I'm learning more about them. Is it right we have 7 down the kind of...
Yeah, it starts with your crown,
yeah,
and then you have the brow, then you have your throat, then you have your heart, then you have your solar plexus, your sacral, and your base chakra. And there are actually lots of mini chakras on the body as well, but those are the main ones that people work with. And so the one at the top, your crown chakra, that kind of relates to your connection to all that is, your source, whatever you call that, whether that is God or the universe. And we also believe we have a higher self, which is essentially part of us, but is actually something that we can draw from, because we're kind of crammed into these little bodies, but there's a bigger, wiser part of us that is operating. So we work through that as well. And then your sort of third eye, which is here, that's all to do with sort of spiritual understanding and how open you are to the spiritual. And then your throat is obviously communicate. Firstly, if your base chakra is not working very well, you're not very grounded. So you tend to be a bit kind of, ooh, which is probably me, basically. So you have to remember to kind of keep grounded, which is something we're going to do at the end, to help people just feel a bit more rooted whilst all this stuff's going on. It's one of those skills that's very, very simple to do, but it can make a massive difference.
Yeah, all about balance, as in so many things in life. It's all about balance. And yeah,
it's totally about balance. Yeah.
Yeah, I forgot to mention you're going to be doing a grounding meditation at the end.
Very short one, I am, yes.
Good stuff. Thank you very much. So yeah, that's interesting. And I understand about chakras that they can be blocked. So I know from my work at college, some people sometimes feel that their throat chakra is blocked, and it's because they're not expressing something, there's something they're holding back. And then you can work with that person to free up the energy around that chakra and allow the energy to flow.
Absolutely. And then you have your aura as well, which is like the energy body around your body, and you can put energy into there. That has colors, they tend to merge together, and they have that has different layers that you can work with. And often if you've had physical trauma, for example, in the body, it will reflect in the spiritual body as well. So you can help that spiritual body to heal as well as the physical. So scarring, for example, from operations will often show up in an aura, and you can help the physical by removing some of that trauma. So it's quite it's a really interesting way of working, and doing the distance stuff is really fascinating, because even I'm like, is this going to do anything? But I've had some amazing stuff happen. So it really encourages you to keep trying, but you can also help your own aura just by meditating, to reflect on it, to think about it, to send colours to it. You have an amazing amount of power over your own body, far more than anyone else.
Yes. And can you see, hello Kath, by the way, Kath is here and she's thankful, sending love to you, Kath.
Oh, hi Kath.
Can you see people's auras?
I can sometimes. So that's a skill that I'm really trying to develop, which is part of what the course is about. Sometimes if somebody stood against a wall, for example, I can see the aura then. But it does take quite a lot of practice, because what you're doing is you're tapping into something spiritual whilst you're in a physical body. And some people have that talent much more naturally than others. It's like any other gift, really. But you can exercise your spiritual muscle and make it better. So I do see energy sometimes, but it's something that I need to improve on. So that would definitely help what I do. But also visualization is quite a powerful thing in spiritual healing. If you're willing to be open to visualizing things, you can actually see more than you realize. And I get that quite a lot in distant healings, where I bring people into a very safe space in a distant way. And quite often I get impressions or sort of visual clues as to what might be going on. And when I check in with them later, they're often actually verified by the person, and they haven't told me before. So if you just trust your intuition a little bit and don't mind being wrong, you can find out quite a lot by being open to that kind of impression.
Yeah, so very much about attunement and intuition. Very much, I think, like the other Rachel Waite that we had on Thursday doing her vocal sound healing.
She was epic, yeah, really good.
She kind of uses her intuition as if she's kind of tuning in to the body of the other person, even though they might be on the other side of the world.
Absolutely. And it's very powerful and can really affect a lot of change. Did you want to know a little bit about my background then? Shall I talk a little bit about my childhood and stuff like that? Would that be helpful?
So your journey to what has led you into this sphere now, yes.
This sphere, yeah. So as a small child, I would say I was always aware that there was other. I didn't ever feel like there was just me. And I can't explain that really. I just knew that there was another power, God, the source, the universe. But when I was very small, I was born in Hampshire, and my dad was in the army, and I've got a brother and two sisters. I'm the third in line. And there's a big gap. So my older brother and sister are about 6-7 years older than me. And then I came along unplanned, and then my other sister came along unplanned another 4 years later. And when I was 5, my dad left the army and moved us to Lincolnshire. And that was a massive catalyst for me, because I just didn't fit there at all. And I was quite an anxious child, I would say, quite sensitive. I'd been sent to private school because they thought it would do me good when I was very small. And my early memories of that were very traumatic. I found it quite overwhelming. And I just never felt like I belonged anywhere. So I think even as a small person, I was aware that I was a spiritual being, but I didn't have words for that. So I didn't know what that meant. But when my dad moved us, he actually left. So he abandoned the family when I was 5 in the middle of nowhere in Lincolnshire, where we hardly knew anyone, and ran off with another woman. So I only saw my dad one more time after that. And obviously, as a psychologist, you'll know that for little girls to lose their daddies is not a great thing. And apparently I cried for a very long time. Mum says months. I cried for my dad. And in those days, people didn't go for help in the same way they would now. Probably now we'd go for family counselling or some kind of help. But in those, when I was younger, that just didn't happen. You just got on with it. And that was definitely what my experience was. So I grew up knowing that my dad didn't want me, basically. And he went on to have another family, and I never saw him again. I know what happened to him in the long run, because some of my family did contact him. But so as I grew up, I was aware that I didn't have a dad, but I probably wasn't as aware of what kind of impact that had on me at the time. It was only when I was older that I really cogged into that and thought, actually, this has had a significant impact on my life. My mum went on to meet somebody else, which wasn't a great experience either. So then I had another negative male experience. And I went through school and went to university and did archaeology at Durham. By that point, I'd had a traumatic event in my life when I was 17, which I'm not going to go into, but it did actually set the tone for me until I was in my 30s. So what happened to me at that point meant that I struggled with my mental health for a very long time. I didn't have the words for that. I didn't know what depression was. I didn't really understand. It's only looking back with hindsight that I realised that actually I was depressed, and I also had quite a lot of anxiety. So I was hyperventilating and having panic attacks before I went to university. And then when I went to university, I spent a lot of that time asleep. It's a miracle I got a degree. Not sure how I did it. I'd like to think it's because of my incredible mental capacity, but I really struggled, and I should have left uni, but I didn't know how to leave because it wasn't accepted in my family. Failure, you see, a lot of pressure. And so I stuck it out. But I remember sitting in one of my exams and I didn't know any of the answers. I just completely blanked it. And I just had to do my very best and somehow scraped through. And I remember one of my friends saying to me, gosh, that was a really easy exam. And I was like, I have a clue what I just wrote. So I really did struggle through those years and didn't get any help because I didn't know I needed it. I just thought that's who I was. I'm sorry about the dog. I'm hoping one of my children will remove it. So I really did struggle through those years. Got my degree somehow. Went on to do a PGCE because my mother suggested it might be a good idea. That's what my life was like. Well, Mum says I should do that. I'll do it. And then went into teaching 3 to 8 year olds. And I was really unhappy. It wasn't something that I really enjoyed. I loved the children. I still love children. But a bit like last night, talking about how all the political aspect of teaching came in, even all those years ago, it was becoming like that. And I really struggled with it because I'm much more of a creative soul, and I like to have really free flow thinking in the classroom, and it just wasn't on anymore. The curriculum was coming in and there was a lot of pressure. So I'd got married by this point, and I was pregnant with Mary, my elder daughter. So I left at that point and decided to retrain as a reflexologist. And that's really when my kind of therapy journey started. And I did my training, and I qualified when she was about 18 months old. So that was a massive thing for me, and it enabled me to start thinking about life in a different way and having a bit more control over my choices rather than listening to other people telling me this is what you should do. You should go to Durham University and do archaeology. You should become a teacher. I started to own my own truth a little bit. And at that point, I started to read a lot more self-help books because fortunately, by this point, there was loads of help out there and you could access all sorts of things. One of the first books I read was M. Scott Peck, The Road Less Traveled. I love that book. That book changed everything for me. What an amazing man. And I remember reading it, and it was just like revelation after revelation. I was like, oh my word, this guy's a genius. And I still have that book. I have Further Along the Road Less Traveled as well, and some of the others like A Different Drum. Brilliant books. I really recommend them to anybody because although they're quite old now, they're still very relevant and filled with love. That's the great thing about them. You can feel it coming off the page. So that book really sparked something for me. And I started to sort of read around things and realized that actually some of how I was operating, some of the ways I thought, some of the feelings I was having were completely and utterly understandable because of my experiences. And by this point, I had had my second daughter, and I trained as a massage therapist because a lot of my clients had said, well, we know you, so please will you do massage because we want you to touch us, we know you. So I did that, and a lot of that was spiritual as well. So I did a lot of spiritual work around my massage. And it was at that point that I actually went for some counselling because I'd hit a bit of a brick wall with my marriage. So when I got married, I was probably less aware of what was operating and the problems I was having relating to the fact that I'd been abandoned by my dad. And I think I was really looking for somebody who'd be very sensible and straightforward and perhaps look after me a little bit. And so my choices were based on that, although if you'd asked me at the time, I would have refuted it. But I can say it safely now that I think there was a huge amount of that. And also he was very self-controlled and extremely logical. Well, anybody who knows me knows that I'm not extremely logical, and I just think I wanted to feel safe. And so I thought that I was going to be safe with him, and that really fueled my choice. But I called it love, and I thought he was amazing, and he's a really lovely man. So I'm not downing Robert in any way, shape, or form. Bless him, he is a lovely man. But as the marriage progressed, it was obvious that it was never going to work. And so I lived a lot of my married life knowing that I wasn't in the right place. I wasn't with the right partner. And the children were growing up, and even they really knew as well, because we lived this very kind of controlled, sort of structured life, which wasn't me at all. And I was still kind of going to spiritual healing workshops. I've done so many things, lots of yoga. I did Drew yoga for quite a long time. And I was just exploring and finding out, reading a lot of stuff, starting to meditate, do a lot of prayer. And I really felt called to working with other people and to support and love them. And the more I became like that, the more distant he became and the more difficult he was to access. And it just became really two people living in a house together rather than this loving, nurturing relationship, which is what I was really longing for. So last year, eventually I did decide that I had to leave the relationship, but it was about my third attempt to leave it, because by then it had become very dysfunctional. So he was in ways to keep me there, and that was quite difficult for me because I want to be kind, and sometimes when you want to be kind, you almost shoot yourself in the foot because you're not assertive. So I had to learn, actually, once I made a choice, I had to follow it through. So last February, that's what I did, and I moved in November. Preceding this, my elder daughter was very poorly with anorexia. So I'd had that to deal with. And within the family, he didn't deal with that well either. So I became a carer. So I was running my practice alongside supporting my daughter, who's been really quite ill. She's making really good progress now. But in this modern age of social media, the pressure at school, she just fell apart, bless her heart. And I'm aware that if I'd been her and there'd been social media and all the pressure that there is now, my mental health when I was her age would have been still worse. So I was fortunate that I grew up in the 80s, where, you know, I could go home and nobody could contact me, and the phone would only ring occasionally. There wasn't constant access, whereas I've seen my children struggle so much with the social media and how easily accessed you are. So I've had quite an interesting little bimble through life. I would say that it was in my late 30s that I was finally free of a lot of the stuff that had been happening to me in my late teens. My work over my dad continues. I don't think you ever actually stop. So I'm constantly trying to be more than me that I'm meant to be. And I'm constantly trying to learn how to love others more, because I think that's why we're here. So my experiences really enable me to be more full of empathy for other people, because I really think that our natural default sometimes is judgment as human beings. It's very easy. It's much easier to make people them, and I'm okay, but you're not okay, and you'll know about those books. But you know, at the end of the day, we are all connected. And the idea is that we should love one another unconditionally, however that might look, to the best of our ability. So my journey is about that now. And my spiritual healing is about that. And it's also about loving myself unconditionally and accepting what has been and using it and forgiving myself, because I still get it wrong, unbelievably, I know. So that's a bit of a potted history, and it might have been a bit of a ramble, but it made sense to me. So
Oh, good. Thank you. Really enlightening and inspiring as well. Thank you, Rachel. So
that's all right.
The word that really resonates for me there, there's two actually. One is connection, the fact that we are all connected, we're all energy, and the other one being love. Like you say, that's what we're here for, and that's what the healing's all about. And it sounds to me like with many healers, it is a case of the wounded healer. And myself, you know, I'm on this kind of psychotherapy journey now, not psychology, by the way, it's psychotherapy. Don't worry, it is very much coming from a place of the wounded healer. So having been there, having had traumas, having had mental health issues, myself, many of the people I speak to in this sphere are wanting to work through their own stuff, and from gaining that knowledge, resilience, experience, then use that to support others from a place of love.
Absolutely. Nothing gives me more joy than if somebody feels a little bit better. You know, after they've come through reflexology, I always say, you know, the litmus test isn't whether I'm a genius, it's whether or not you feel better afterwards. And that is always what I look for. So I don't talk big. I just love people to the best of my ability, and if they feel better, then I'm really happy about that, because at the end of the day, it's about them, not me, and they know what they need, so their outcome is what matters most. And that's how I approach most things now. You have to kind of allow people to be who they are, and to make the journey that's best for them, and it might not look the way you think, so you have to be so careful not to be prescriptive, because what I think is best for somebody else is probably not what's best for somebody else, let's be honest. And so you have to really let go, and I've have on occasion made assumptions and thought, oh, you know, this didn't work, oh, and then I've had a message 2 weeks later and it's been patently obvious I've completely got it wrong, and it's been amazing, and they're really happy, and everything's worked out really well. So I try really hard now not to jump to any conclusions, and just allow people to take the journey that they need to take, and to be empowered to be them. And people have got amazing intuition and often know what's best for them anyway. So all we're really doing is facilitating that in whichever way we work.
Yeah, it's, you know, that's very similar with psychotherapy. You know, a lot of people think psychotherapy is about giving advice and fixing people, and it just isn't, you know, because the client is their own best expert, and we are there just to facilitate a space, maybe plant a few seeds, and support them to become or re-find who they really are, rather than become who they want to be, I would say. So it sounds very similar with the kind of healing work that you're doing, that the client's the expert. You can maybe plant a few seeds, offer a few things, but actually they know what they need. Absolutely.
People do at some level, and they can choose as well to not change, and that's okay. So at the end of the day, if that's what is right for them at the time, that has to be okay with me too, and just to allow them to take the time to be ready. So sometimes, you know, you can have somebody come in and they will come for a couple of sessions and they'll stop. And in my early days, that would have been crippling. I would have just thought I'd failed. But now I know that's not the case at all. Just for them, it wasn't the right time, or the right person, or the right thing, or they just weren't ready. And that's okay. So yeah, I've over the years I've learned a lot.
Yeah, it's again, you know, sorry to keep banging on about psychotherapy, but there's a lot of parallels here. People have to be ready, willing, and able to change.
Absolutely. We have a thing where we say "Thy will be done," and we mean your will be done. Yeah. So, and we do that in our healing as well. It's always "Thy will be done." Their higher self, their natural intuition knows, and actually to try to move somebody on beyond what they're ready for is very dangerous anyway, because people have a lot of stuff in place to keep themselves safe, and for you to try and physically move that in some way beyond what they're ready for is actually quite dangerous. So people will always make the shift when they're ready to, and all you can do is sow the seed, and sometimes a few seeds is all it takes, and sometimes it takes a bit longer. I have people come back to me sometimes. So yeah, absolutely.
So it's that patience and humility. Plant a seed, it might sprout straight away, it might be until next spring that they actually find themselves in that ready, willing, and able place.
Yeah, and it might be that they never do, and they live the way they're living because for them that's working, and that's okay. You know, it's absolutely fine. My job is just to love them.
Yes, that's lovely, and isn't that what we're all here for? Really, isn't what it's
absolutely
all about? So you have a yurt.
I have a yurt. Yes, I know. I do have a yurt, although at the moment it's in a bit of a sorry state because I moved, as I've said, and it got a bit messed up, sadly. So that was actually, for me, it felt a bit like my spiritual space had been kind of invaded, and so I ended up just sort of shutting the door on it for a bit. But now we have this time. I've got a skip coming on Monday, so I can get some stuff shifted, and then I'm going to paint the floor and get it all sorted so that when I start again, when I'm allowed to touch people again, I've got my spiritual space back. So yeah, I do have a yurt. It's a really special place, and it will be again. I've had it for about 3 years. So yeah, nice wood burning fire in there and everything.
Your yurt of healing. And in the meantime, you've told me that you do some distance healing, and there was someone in particular that you're working with who's very ill. Do you want to share something about that?
Yeah, so I've been, as a student, I can do distant healing for people. It's great practice for me. And obviously at the moment I can't see anybody in person, which is very odd when I'm used to seeing my regulars. And I love, the people who come to me very much. So I'm feeling a bit like, when I'm not doing any touch, I'm used to touching people. My children are getting a bit fed up with the hugging, I think. So I have a particular friend who has been very ill. And really, she was diagnosed about only 3-4 weeks ago, and it was a massive shock for us all. She's quite a lot younger than me as well. So we weren't quite sure what the outcome was going to be. So I just said to her, look, if you give me permission, I can send you healing every day, and I will do it. So I committed to doing that. So I've sent healing to her every day. And there's been some really lovely outcomes from that. We found out that she is going to be okay, which is fantastic. So we've been through quite a lot, and there is still a bit of the journey to go, but she's been given pretty much the all clear as far as she can be at this point. And I've been really fortunate. There's been a couple of times, because she was kind of hiding away, there's been a couple of times where I've gone for a walk and I've actually seen her by complete accident. So that's been a massive blessing to me, and I've been able to talk to her and reassure her about things. So I do healing for her daily, and she has found it really helpful. And then there's been a few other people who've had bits and pieces that I do things for as well. It's great practice for me, because it's like anything else. It's a muscle. You have to practice. And if I want to get better at it, I have to put in the time. So at the moment, I've got quite a lot of time, although not as much as I thought I was going to have.
But yeah, just distance healing. Kath, who is here. Hello, Kath. She sent me some distance Reiki last week. No, on Tuesday. I kind of burnt myself out doing too much on this thriving hive, and she sent me some distance Reiki, and I Lake District, and I could feel it, and I had the best sleep for 2 weeks, and on Wednesday woke up feeling so refreshed and energized. So thank you again, Kath.
Fabulous.
It works. So
it does work, absolutely. And it's great when you get feedback like that, because it kind of sort of enlivens you again to keep on going with it. And you can never be sure what the outcome will be. So my friend, for example, was having trouble breathing because of the general anaesthetic and things, and she'd been asleep, and I'd sent healing, and she said she woke up and took the biggest breath, and she didn't know I was sending healing at the time. So little things like that, they keep you thinking, right, okay, I'm going to keep trying, because it's worth it in the end, and it's just another way to love people, really.
Yeah, it's lovely to get that positive reinforcement as well, and feel that it's working. And Hayley is saying, I feel your energy and story like my own. I'm grateful that people like you both are in the world. Bless you, Hayley. I'm grateful.
Oh, thanks, Hayley.
Hayley makes cheese. She makes Wensleydale cheese.
You keep mentioning this, and I'm fascinated. Absolutely fascinated.
You should have a chat. And Hayley, if you can start making some Wensleydale that's vegan, I'll be all over it. But yeah, good stuff. Okay, so before we move into your grounding meditation, Rachel, is there anything else that you want to talk about? Anything that we haven't covered? Anything that people might be interested in knowing?
Oh, you're not interested in knowing that I do loads of singing and performance, are you? But there is that side to me as well. That comes from my dad's side of the family, actually. And at times it's felt more like a curse than a blessing, to be honest. But there is that side to me. So there's a kind of like healery, cuddly, nurturing side. And then there's this lunatic who prances around on stage and sings a lot. And it's a big part of who I am. So interestingly, just as a kind of aside, I last Christmas decided that I really needed to boil down what gave me joy. And I realized the two things that gave me joy were helping others and performing. So if you want to know me, those are the two things that make me really happy. And so I concentrated on those, and that's really my whole focus. Obviously, I love my family and all the rest of it, but those are the two things that really make me feel alive. So yes, I'm always involved in something or other. I'm about to do Calendar Girls the musical when this whole thing gets lifted off and we can go back to it. And I think that creative side of people is very, very important, and we've all got that to some degree or another. And I would say that if you are struggling at the moment, tap into your creative as well, because it's really freeing and it just brings out another side to you, and uses different parts of your brain, which is very healthy. So I know you've got a creative side, Paul, so I don't know, I'm probably preaching to the converted here. We all know about your dancing.
We all have a creative side, I believe. It's all,
We do.
and then somehow it gets obscured for a lot of people, and they say, oh, I can't draw, I can't sing,
Yeah,
I can't act, but actually we can do all of those things, and it's just giving
we
ourselves
can. So good for us, absolutely so good for us. And often it's at school that gets shut down. I remember doing an art exam and the teacher holding up the thing and going, we have an impressionist here. And I just, you just go, I laugh about it now, but at the time I thought I'd done a really good job. Because I struggled with art, so for me that was a really good effort. And then she just shot it down in one, and that probably stopped me painting ever again. So yeah, we have to be so careful as well how we receive other people's efforts, and make sure that we're always kind, because I think kindness is a really undervalued thing. I would say that's one of the most important things ever. To just really think before you speak. And just think, is this kind? And yeah, we'll get it wrong sometimes, but I really endeavour to do that and to build others up. I think supporting others and really celebrating their abilities is a very healing thing to do.
Definitely. Be kind whenever possible. It is always possible.
It is, absolutely. Always possible.
Yeah. Right, thank you for that. I'm totally on board with the creativity thing. So people, get creative, do something.
Creative, and send your pictures to me. Just friend request me. I don't mind anything you've been doing. Kitchen dancing videos, the lot. I will love every minute. So yeah, go for it.
Lovely. Okay. Well, thank you for that, Rachel. That's been really good to chat. And are you ready now to lead us in a grounding meditation?
Absolutely. So we're going to do this meditation. It's not going to take masses of time, but it is something that if you can just do, if you're feeling a little bit uncentered, I'm so sorry about my dog. I've texted my children to ask them to remove her, and they're just not doing. I could just nip and just throw her in the other room. Just give me 1 minute.
I'll talk about something else for a moment. So whilst Rachel is delivering Poppy elsewhere, I just want to talk about the poll results. I put a poll up a few days ago on the site around about how people are feeling about this whole coronavirus lockdown situation at the moment. And I was quite surprised by the results. Obviously, not everyone's voted, so maybe a lot of the more people who are experiencing more negative emotions may not have voted. But what we got was 12 people coming out saying that they are feeling more positive than negative. Might be struggling with some aspects of this situation, but mostly enjoying the peace, the slower pace of life, and other positives about it. And then the next most popular was loving it, top marks, so many positives, wonderful opportunity to focus on what's important and evolve consciousness. And then 2 people said they were ambivalent either way, and 1 person said more negative than positive, where they're struggling to adapt, feeling a bit anxious, and nobody said that they're totally overwhelmed and finding it unbearable. So yeah, 21 people are more positive than negative or absolutely loving it, and 2 ambivalent, 1 negative. So that's quite interesting to hear. Maybe we've just got a lot of positive people in the Thrive Hive, or maybe all the negative people were under their duvets. I don't know. Still, that was good feedback. So thank you for getting involved. I might do another poll about whether to shave this off or not. We'll see. Okay, so
I'll definitely vote on that one.
bit of levity. So over to you, Rachel, for the meditation. Thank you.
Okay, so this is just something that you can use if you're just feeling like you're not very centered, that everything's just getting a bit much, because life has changed, and something to really ground you, because being grounded is very, very important so that we can function on the planet. So the first thing I want you to do is just make sure that you are comfortable wherever you are. And I would recommend for this that you're sat on a chair rather than lying down. If you're going to lie down, make sure you feel the weight of whatever's underneath you, because really it's easier if you have your feet on the floor for this one. So just make sure your feet are on the floor, that you are very, very comfortable, and just have your hands really relaxed into your lap. And then if you just close your eyes gently, we're just going to do some breathing. So you're going to breathe in for 3. And then you're going to breathe out for 4, just very slowly. And then again for 3. And then out for 4. And then we're just going to do that one more time. In for 3 slowly. And then out for 4. Then we're just going to check our body. So I just want you to just scrunch up your toes really tight, as tight as you can, and then just release those. Just really release them. And then just tighten your ankles and just let go. And then do the same with your calves. Just tighten those calves and just let go. And then again with your thighs. Just tighten those thighs and just let them go. We're going to come up to your buttocks and just tighten those and just let go. Just breathe, that's it. And then just tighten your back as best you can. Just tighten it and just let it go. And then you're going to get your shoulders and you're going to tighten those up to your ears. And you're just going to hold those there. And then you're just going to drop them. Let those shoulders go. And then you're just going to screw up your face. Nobody can see you because you've got your eyes closed. And you're on a Facebook Live because I'm kind, so you're not on Zoom. So just tighten up your faces as tight as you can. And let go. And then just let your breathing go back to normal. And then I want you to think about your feet. And I want you to just imagine that there are roots growing out of your feet. And they're just going deep into the earth. Deep into the earth as you can possibly imagine. And those roots are going right down. And if you can, imagine those roots going onto a rock and tying themselves around a rock really deep into the earth. Really strong roots. And just breathe. And then if you imagine another line coming down your back, so that you've got another line of connection to the earth, and just have that line anchor itself deep into the earth. Down, down, down. And then anchor that against a rock as well. Just tie it round to the best of your ability. It's okay if you're not very visual, just trust that it's being done. And just breathe through there. And then what I want you to do is I want you to breathe up all the energy from the earth. I want you to bring it right through the center of your body. And then I want you to breathe out and bring that energy down. And then I want you to bring the energy up again. And I want you to bring the energy down. And this time, as you bring the energy up, you're going to reach up to your higher self and you're going to touch it and you're going to bring a line of light down. A lovely line of light right down the center of your body, down, down, down into the earth. It's going to meet that line and you're going to bring up the earth energy again as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, you bring down that silver line of energy from above you. Now this time, as you bring up that earth energy, see how far you can reach up, whether you can reach up further than your higher self, just a little bit further into that universal love energy, and just bring that line of light down. We're going to do that one more time, bringing up that earth energy. Bring it up to that line to get that line of light down from the universe. And then we're going to bring that down and we're going to stop at our heart center. So just this place on your chest. And you're going to bring that earth energy up to your heart. And then you're going to bring the line of light down to your heart. Where they meet, you're going to imagine now a massive light starting to grow. So as you breathe in, Those two lines of energy meet, and as you breathe out, that energy increases in your heart. We're going to do it again. We're going to bring down and bring up energy. And then we're just going to imagine a massive amount of energy in our heart and that light going out. And we're just going to do that one more time. Now you can do that as many times as you need to. And as you visualize that, you should start to feel just much more like you've slowed down, you're calmer. So anytime you just feel disconnected, just bring those energies together and just bring them through your heart center. And then when you're ready, you can just bring that energy down again. Just breathe the energy down into the ground. Bring it up to your heart. And then just sit very quietly with it. And when you're ready, just very slowly, you can open your eyes. Absolutely no rush, in your own time. And that meditation you can do for as long or as little as you need. And you can actually do it quite quickly. So if you are somewhere that you're just feeling a little bit uncentered or a bit anxious, just imagine those lines of energy and then imagine them meeting. And it just helps to bring you to center again so that you're not as scattered, and just to calm everything down. But even just the grounding, just imagining those roots into the earth can be extremely beneficial if you don't have very long. And it's a simple one, but it's actually really powerful. And if you sit with it for quite a long time, you can feel quite incredibly full of love and peace, which is why I like it so much. I just thought I'd give you a little taster.
Thank you very much, Rachel.
It's all right.
I enjoyed that. Feeling warm and tingly now. Felt kind of that heavy groundedness energy at the beginning, and then the light coming down as well, and feeling something going on here in the heart center as well. So that's thank you. One for the toolbox.
Absolutely. You just practice with it and play with it. Play with reaching up as high as you can and bringing down lots of light.
Stuff. Lovely. So thank you, Rachel. Where can people find out more about you if they want some distance healing, reflexology, massage when you're back up and doing that in your yurt?
Right, so I have a Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com enfold massage, which is ENFOLD, as in enfolding people. I do have a website, which is enfoldmassage.co.uk. It's not very up to date, though, I have to admit. You see, typical kind of, that's a bit sort of organised for me, but it does still have all the information on that you need. Or you can just find me, Rachel Louise Warren, on Facebook, and that's absolutely fine too. Just send me a friend request. That's absolutely fine. And I'm happy to be accessible for people. And obviously, I'm on here, so you can find me through this as well.
Thank you very much.
Right.
We have a comment. Oh, thank you so much. It was lovely, says Kath. And 2 kisses.
Oh, thanks, Kath. I'll give you 2 back. There you go.
Spreading the love. I like it. Okay, so anything else before you leave?
No, just thank you. And probably the best way to do this was to actually be a sub and just get on with it rather than in 2 weeks' time, which was our plan. I'd just like to know that, Paul did actually completely bomb me last night with a message going, oh, by the way, would you like to do tomorrow instead? And I tried to say no, but it was pointless. So, yeah, it's quite persuasive.
It's a skill, yeah. There was some fear there, I think, and you've felt the fear and you've done it anyway.
I felt the fear and did it anyway.
Well done. So thank you very much for being our Ole Gunnar Solskjaer super sub.
That's all right. I don't even know how to spell that. You'll have to send me that because I don't even know how to spell that person.
Okay. I will send you a link to all of his greatest goals.
All right. That'd be great. Thanks.
All right. Thank you very much, Rachel.
That's all right, Paul.
See you on the Hive.
Yeah. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Oh, that was really good. My voice went high then. Ooh, it was really good. I enjoyed that. Really good chat. So thank you, folks, for watching. Some positive things to try, says Yvonne. Yes, indeed. It's all good to have all these things in our toolbox, isn't it? The bigger our toolbox is, the more resilient we are, the more things we can reach for when we're struggling, and also that we can use to support others as well. Okay, so what else do I need to tell you before we close? Okay, yes, if you are bored tonight, I don't know what the meaning of that word is. I'm never bored. But if you're bored, or if you just like music, or you want something to do at 8 o'clock tonight, go to this place here. Visit Saddleworth on Facebook. They're live streaming Jake Fletcher, very talented musician, and proud to call him a buddy. So get on that, 8 o'clock. Wonderful talent, and lovely to have a sing-along, I think, on a Saturday night. What else do I have to tell you about? Oh, yes, that's the book that Rachel mentioned. I can second that recommendation. I read it a couple of years ago. Life-changing, absolutely life-changing. And funnily enough, it popped up on, the Facebook memories thing that you have. You can see what you were doing on this day in history. 2 years ago today, I was expressing gratitude for that book. And I said, it's the first time I have kissed a book and said thank you to it upon completion. So that's how good it was. But like Rachel was saying earlier on, it's one of those readiness things. So you've got to be ready, willing, and able to hear the messages in it. The first time I started reading it, I don't think I got past chapter 2 because I wasn't ready. But I was ready 2 years ago, and it was awesome. 3,000. Okay, so Hayley Whip says, thank you, you're welcome, on behalf of Rachel. And maybe you can chat to her about Wednesday day. What else? Yes, I've just posted an event for Easter Sunday, 6:30. We all like a giggle, don't we? Uvavu, Iranu. We really want to see those fingers. Shooting Stars quiz right here. Actually, not here, on Zoom, but I shall put it on the group as well afterwards. Get involved in that. It's going to be a right giggle. Get the family involved as well. Don't bring your serious face. It's not a serious quiz. It's a daft quiz, music rounds, silly questions, true or false, and all sorts of fun. If you like Vic and Bob, and even if you don't, just like a giggle, come along to that. So check the Facebook event out on the page. Sign up if you fancy coming along, and invite your friends to the Hive. Let's what I said earlier on, get 5 to 10 people. Share that link with 5 to 10 people, and if everyone does that, we will have over 1,000 people in this community supporting each other and benefiting from the wisdom of the likes of Rachel and filling up their toolboxes full of wonderful things. Okay, so tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock, we have Mike Richard coming in. What a wonderful man he is. He does peer support groups for mental health. He's the founder of Talk About It, Mate. Talk About It, Mate. And I've been on his podcast, so he's returning the favour now and coming on our show tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. And do come along for that. Watch it back later if you can't make it, if you're going to have a lie-in on Sunday after all tomorrow. And I think that's it. That's it. Yeah, so all done. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you got something from it. I certainly did. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Get on Jake Fletcher tonight on Saddleworth. Visit Saddleworth on Facebook, and enjoy the rest of your day. See you tomorrow. Take care.